Hey, good morning, guys and gals. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. How you all doing? This is Spirit Journey. Today is Saturday. Yes, good morning, Saturday. It is January 21, 2023, and the time is about almost 6:30 a.m. Yes, I was awake now for about a half an hour. And yeah, I sleep. Unfortunately, I do sleep. I have my device on playing videos. I use it now. I use it now like a radio, to just fall asleep on. Yeah, I don't. I no longer use a radio. I now use my computer. Yes, it's a bad habit, but I'm being honest. Well, how you guys doing? I hope all is well in your corner. And I'm in bed right now. Excuse me. And my little doggies are by my side. Um, I want to talk about some things today. I hope the audio is well. Let's see. Yeah, I have my mic on. Let's see. Yes, good morning. Good morning. Yeah, I'm trying to um, position this camera. Okay. Sorry about that. Yeah, I hope you all are doing well. Let me know if you can hear the audio well. Sometimes there are glitches and the audio may not be heard very well. Yeah, I'm just making sure the plug is in all the way for the mic. I want to talk about certain things today. Three major topics, but I think they're all related. With my videos, I might talk about different things, but they're all related. Um, yeah, I fell asleep with my device on and was playing a video, and I was dreaming about that I had contacted some type of ailment. It I was scratching my belly in the dream, and when I looked down, I saw what looked like pock marks and a rash. And then I was talking to a scientist, and I said, I was very worried and you know wanted it to get checked out. Never had a dream like that. So I assume, I presumed that what was going on, like, if you fall asleep with something on, the topic, it's going to be put in your dream. Because when I woke up, what was playing was about the C-19, the jab jab thing, that thing that's been happening, uh, started 3 years ago. Okay. So yeah, I still want to be careful my wording because things could still be pulled. Yes, uh, during the 3 years, I had posted videos and shares, and it was pulled. The people who handle this social media, they pulled my video and gave me a 2 week timeout. Yeah, I was punished for 2 weeks. I couldn't post anything. I couldn't load anything up. I couldn't do anything. This happened several times. Okay. Yeah. So a lot of things I want to talk about is about media. Yeah. Yeah. I think the main thing is really about information. Information being, blocked. Creating a narrative. And so, yeah, I want to talk about the the jab jab. I want to talk about Tate, Andrew Tate. Yeah, I talked about him, I think, about a week ago. Yeah, the aspect I want to talk about with him is what what happened. Yeah, when something happens to someone and they were doing what they were doing for a while, why all of a sudden something is being done. And I got the answer. I got the answer. Wow. And I didn't expect to find the answer so quickly. But it was like 2 days ago I got the answer to that question. So I want to talk about that. And then I want to talk about um, some of the YouTube channels that I watch and how about the narrative. And I did discuss this before, how sometimes you might, you know, like you watch a video and you could write something in the comment area, comment section. And I see now certain things are blocked or you get a timeout. Why is this happening? Why are these things happening? And I see now that I'm starting this live stream, that the common denominator is about information, and that some information uh, they want it blocked, and or sometimes they want something out. But ultimately, I think it's really about uh, hoarding information. And so with this live stream, that's what I want to try to attempt to explain. And again, it's my trying to put the pieces together that's happening. Yeah, please, yes, good morning, viewer. Please let me know if you can hear the audio well. You could press a 1 for yes if you could hear, if the audio's okay. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is, oh, I'm sorry, I'm multitasking here. I'm trying to hold this camera. Yeah. Okay. The first thing I'm going to talk about is about what's been happening with the past 3 years. I still want to be careful because I can't say certain words, but it involves the number 19. Let me just say that. Yeah, I was I was awakened this morning. I had my video playing in the background as I was sleeping, and ironically, I had a dream about that I got infected with something that was on my skin, and I was scratching. It looked like the chicken pox. Okay, and I was talking to a scientist slash doctor in an office. Yes, thank you for the thumbs up. Yeah. So let me know if you can hear me well. So when I woke up, yes, the video was playing about the number 19, that thing that was happening the past 3 years. And I think I've heard things like this before. But these two people were discussing, one was of like a virologist, not sure who the other guy was, um, but it was um, a discussion about how scientists handled that whole episode with that number 19. And I remember, thinking back, boy, I can't believe it's 3 years since I first heard about it. It was in January 2020. Uh, remember, oh, what's his name? That basketball player. He had just passed away in a helicopter crash, and his young daughter, was with him. Remember that it's really something how things happen in close proximity. And it just seemed very suspicious that uh, horrible accident that, what's his name again? That basketball player um, who passed away then. I forget his name, he and his daughter. That was horrible. But there were things behind that even. But I think it was used as, I mean, it's so horrible what happened, and my condolences to him, to that family. Um, but the proximity, and I think sometimes news are used to, in my opinion, certain news are shown to the public as like a warning, as a warning. Um, I remember, like, I live in New York City, and I remember that they had a big billboard of him. It was like his whole uh, uh, his whole body, like he was like standing. It was a whole big billboard the size of a building, in commemorating him. Giving condolences. So you see a tall fellow, well-known fellow, sports person. Yeah, but sports are big here in New York City. But it was like you felt vulnerable. Here he was a young man in his prime, and something like that happened. That was in January. I don't remember what day in January, but it happened in January. And then the news in China, you saw all these people on the street um, acting like a fish out of water. Remember that? Remember that, people? And I watched. I mean, yeah, I was watching that, the thing in China. Um, but I never would have thought that from January and then to March that we would have that lockdown. So first you get in early in the year a famous young man, relatively young man in his prime, dies tragically in a helicopter accident. And I don't really think it was an accident personally. Um, yeah, he was going to go to the authorities about something that was done to him. And then why would he need to take that helicopter ride in a fog, right? It's just weird, the whole event, in my opinion. It didn't need to happen. So you have that trauma, and then they started to show all this stuff in China. These people were sick with something, and then they were having lockdowns. Also, at this time, that administration number 45, had said, remember this, America first. America first, bring back the jobs, bring back the industry back to America. Now, what's wrong with that? But you see how things, in my opinion, was twisted. And they were then name calling number 45. Again, it's not about whether you like someone or don't like someone. It's just what was going on at the time to create a particular political environment. So what happened? From America First, then he was number 45 was vilified as being a racist, a bigot, and all this thing was happening. I mean, people, if you live in a home, wouldn't you want your family first? Or you're going to give all your resources to your neighbors? You're going to handle your family first. That's not being selfish. There's nothing wrong helping your neighbors. Nothing wrong with that. It's just about the principle. Help yourself first. And if you want to help others, go right ahead. You should always start with yourself, your family, first. So anyway, this thing in China was growing and growing. And the fear, I remember, that was starting to develop. And I remember hearing in the media at that time that I remember saying that, I'm sorry, I remember hearing that no one was sick yet in the US with this virus. They were very confident. And then I think maybe 2 days later, the first casualty. And when the number 45 said, hey, I think we should lock down the borders, oh, you're just a bigot and a racist and this and that, okay? Again, that not someone could be all those things. Someone could have been all those things, right? Yeah, that's true. Things could have been like that. But if you had a neighbor, let's say you had a household and you find out your neighbor had something. Let's say you find out your neighbor had something. Wouldn't you want to close your doors until things clean up? But no, that wasn't the narrative. Okay? They twisted the information, and it was to distract you from what was really going on. Somebody could have gotten sick. And yes, someone did get sick. So here, a a pretty much easy remedy to prevent your household from getting sick is not being twisted, because the powers, in my opinion, just in my opinion, I'm not a scientist, but my opinion, if you know something is up, and you say, hey, let's put a screen, but let's separate ourselves from this possible pathogen, okay? And once we know what it is, and once things clear up, you could remove the borders, whatever. But that wasn't done. That was being prevented or shamed. But then people started to get sick. And yes, I do know of relatives, cousins, who did pass away. Um, yeah, it was like a lot of fear. I remember the fear that was involved. Well, fast forward, we all know what was going on. We all remember what was going on during this past 3 years. But watching this program a moment ago about this 19, as I would call it, number 19, um, it turns out that this thing was a designer viral thing. It was created in a lab in that particular country. It also turns out, okay, they noticed that when upon examination, this particular thing had what they call a cleave. A cleave is like a split. And I guess with the virology, when they use the word a cleave, meaning that it's an insertion point where they had cut something out to insert something in. Viruses are all over the planet. Okay, the viruses are some type of organism. They enter the cells. They can enter the genes, right? Some of them are, contagious, but a lot of, viruses are viruses. And you have animals, yes, that have their strains of viruses, and only that species get it amongst themselves. Just like, like people. Sometimes people have could get certain colds and stuff like that, and just people get it. Like you might have pets, the pets don't get it, but you get it. People get it. But what if when an animal can pass something on to a human? And it seems like with these scientists, that's what they seem to want to do. Well, some of the corrupt ones. So the program I was watching was sharing information about what was discovered, what was really going on. And the people that seem to be in charge, like Fauci, Dr. Fauci, he works for the government agency, I think the NIH, but it turned out that he had funded the place in Wuhan. And it turns out that that same lab was creating these designer viruses. So the whole point with that program that I was just watching, that I woke up to, was about how people were responding and how natural inquiry of something was changing, and people would be infected. And to naturally ask certain questions, where something came from. And when you try to inquire, and then you're told uh, things to, I call it a smoke screen. It seemed like a smoke screen was going on. Anytime you ask a logical question where something came from, they want to say that you don't know what you're talking about. Wow, my battery's getting low already. Wow, I have to take out my earplug. Just a moment. Okay. Sorry about that. My my earplugs. This live stream is using up a lot of the energy, and so my batteries are low. So I had to just put the plug back in. I hope you can hear the audio. Hope you can hear the audio. Yeah, I just took the plug out and something that could interrupt with the audio. So I hope you can hear. So yeah, so every time you had other scientists or researchers who were inquiring and asking basic questions about something, that everything seemed to be thwarted and name calling. Well, when you find out that the person who's using all these distractions, such as a person like Dr. Fauci, um, he was involved in the research, what they call gain of function. Gain of function is a process, and again, I'm not a scientist or anything like that, but what was said, like suppose, again, you have an animal, and in general, animals don't, you know, people may not get contaminated being around certain animals, because some viruses are specific to certain species, right? So if that's the case, and if you're a mad scientist and you want to infect from one species, let's say a bat or a monkey, and you want to um, bring it onto the human species to get you sick, you want to weaponize certain things. How do you do that? Well, you use a process called gain of function. You take that virus that's specific to that species, and then you tweak it so that it could be entered eventually into a human host. and get them sick. And that process is illegal to do in the US. So you had a scientist, Dr. Fauci. Remember, he gave the um, suggestion rules and regulations how to handle the pandemic. It's like having the wolf uh, go, work in the hen house. And that's what happened. So that's what the program was talking about this morning, that the data got leaked, you know, it got leaked. What else? The current administration also seemed to be involved with certain things, but that was being like if you spoke out, if the current administration, when you spoke out about it, um, they would they would call it like what do you call it? Um, that you didn't know what you were talking about. And remember that guy with the laptop? See, the current administration was doing deals with that particular country. And remember when see the current administration has a son, and he had left his laptop at this place to get it fixed or something, serviced, whatever. And he doesn't come back for it for whatever reason. And by law, if you don't like pick up your equipment, whatever, if you don't pick it up from the store, you have 3 months or something, then it becomes the property of that store, and that's what happened. And when he had looked in it to the data, he noticed there was very sensitive information. And in short, that individual had brought it to had his father. The father worked in the government. I think he was father's a retiree, but he has connections with the government. And his father, I think, presented it to the FBI. So what happened? Well, what happened? That it backfired in his face. They made the guy look like the guy who had the computer, the computer shop. They vilified him, and he was given death threats. And that's what it seems like with all this the past 3 years. If you speak out, you get punished. They'll call it, what do you call it? Misinformation. Um, oh, you're putting misinformation on the social media. And it turns out that the social media people who own these social media outlets were being the new security guards and preventing certain information to be shared. You have a right to information. And that's what was going on the past 3 years, withholding information. And then the bullying also. That's what was going on. So it's just really something that, it just got progressively worse and worse. These treatment. I remember before, 2 years ago, no, it was a year and a half ago, I went to go on the bus. It was drenching rain. And I was going over to see a family member. I was bringing some treats over. It was in a paper box, and it was getting drenched. And I didn't have that mask. I didn't want to put it on. And there was a person in front of me who got on, and then when I went to enter the bus driver um, slams the door in my face. And I said, "What is this?" So I knocked on the door, and he wouldn't open up. I said, "What the hell is going on?" A couple of seconds later, he eventually opens it up. I come on, and as I'm coming on, he's looking at me, and he's gritting his teeth and looking, trying to intimidate me. I never say a word. And again, I'm drenched, and the box looks like it's going to break. I pay my fare and sit down. I did not put that mask on, nor did I want to be intimidated. And I think this past 3 years, that this theme about intimidation is a common theme. Intimidation. I remember also the early, I think it was in 2000, I went to the park, and it was a big, big park. And people who wouldn't ordinarily, I think, say anything to me, well, they wanted to say something to me. This tiny couple, they were very young looking, looked like in their early 20s. And yes, I did sneeze. Now, we were maybe 12 feet away from each other. I'm on one side of the road, the lane, and I'm on the other. And I sneezed into my elbow, how they told you how to sneeze if you have to sneeze. And the guy had said, "Wear a mask," really violent like. People were being activated. People were being like triggered. And I think fights could have broken out. Like there was some videos of people, people being forcibly removed from buses if they didn't want to wear that thing, that mask. And the police, and again, a mandate is not a law. A mandate is just a suggestion. A mandate, remember that, a mandate is not a law. It's not enforceable. It's a suggestion. And again, um, people cannot tell you medically what to do. They're not your doctor. And this thing called OSHA, the requirements. You cannot enforce something like that, what someone to do. You cannot order them to do something like medically. Wearing a mask, surgical mask, is a medical procedure. What if you had allergies? What if you have severe asthma or emphysema and you can't breathe? You have a device like that on, and some people had to wear double. Remember that? I know someone who wore two masks, and they were like felt faint. I said, "But take off the mask." Remember that? Your common sense went out the window. Remember that? But I remember it. So it was like it was creating an environment of fear, and then coercion, bullying, and all that. And you weren't allowed to think and ask reasonable questions about this pathogen. And so now I'm surprised that this video that I was just watching is out. It came out a month ago. Because remember, they were pulling anything that um, was contrary to the narrative. And look at this. Remember that tweet got bought out by that guy, Elon Musk? Remember that about a month or so ago? 1 or 2 months ago, he bought out tweet because you couldn't say certain things on tweet. Things were being hidden. So this new world is utilizing this social media. See, now, because information was being widely shared. they've created social medias to have the world united, uh, to close the border, so to speak, not to close the border, but to make it like a one world zone. So you're not separated by distance. And you can talk to someone from other parts of the world through these social medias. And then, since now we're all comfortable using this social media, now they want you to, now they want to put restrictions on what you can say and not say. And I think ultimately they want you to enslave everyone. They want everybody thinking the same, doing the same, and they want to restrict information. So they presented it as a nice birthday cake, and then now they switch it. Now you can't have the cake anymore. You're already dependent on it, and that's how that's your means of communicating now through social media. Now they want, oh, okay, you can't say that anymore, right? They were pulling videos so you couldn't share, and they're punishing you. You can't make money anymore now on this social media when they pull your account. So it's just something that I see that as a pattern, and it started out with that number 19. And then now, like with this Tate, this guy named Andrew Tate, I want to talk about. I think he's, it's the same theme, similar themes about information and then the vilification, but what's behind the scene. Now, again, I do not condone people oppressing women. I am a woman, and I know what it's like to be violated. I have never heard, I mentioned him a couple of videos ago. Oh, I see it's getting lighter and lighter outside. Yeah, the sunrise is approaching. But yes, Andrew Tate. Now I just learned about Andrew Tate. He was a fighter, a professional boxer of some type, and then it turns out he also was on television, on television show called Big Brother. He was on that for a while, and then he got kicked off of that show, and then somehow he got into the social media. Again, I never heard about him, and it was just again 2 weeks ago that they mentioned that he's the number one Googled person. And I was curious about him, as I mentioned in my video, who this person was. It was just all of a sudden I was getting these feeds, on social media about this person. So curiosity, I just, who is this person? Yeah, he's an individual, right? Um, he, yeah, I'm learning a little bit more about him that I didn't know since the last time I discussed him. Um, Again, I don't condone someone if they're doing. He is arrested, and some other people about human trafficking is prostitution in a nutshell, about human trafficking and prostitution things, and some people that former girlfriends, so-called girlfriends. I say so-called. I mean, the idea of someone being someone's partner and then you're not partner. I don't know. Well, either way, these women had come forward and talked to the authorities, And then, but now he's arrested for these allegations and they're confiscating his property. But I asked myself a question a couple of days, when I first heard about him about 2 weeks ago. I was curious. Again, I never heard of him, but yet he's like that. They claim the number one searched person. Um, he has a lot of money, new money, and I guess maybe he's making the money off of what they claim he was doing. He had women. Um, he was able to convince these women to do things in front of a camera, and of course that would make a lot of money, of the sexual kind. Okay. Um, so I think that's primarily how he got his money. And then he has a school. I was surprised at the name of the school. What do they call it? What do you call it? Oh, I forget the name. It'll come to me. Um, Hustler School. Um, so it seemed like a Playboy type of thing, but machismo. Um, so he's arrested now, and he's in Romania right now. I think in a jail in Romania. Um, I was surprised though. He has a very interesting background. He is a light-skinned black man that we would say in the United States. He has a black American father and a white British mother. He's very light-skinned. Um, and when I first saw him, I I was curious about what his background was, and because he to me he looks like a black person. And then when I found out his back, I said, "Oh, okay." I was just curious. Um, so so now he's who he is, and I was surprised the number of followings he has. And despite his heritage, the people that seem to gravitate to this man are European men. And in his arrest, there was a board, what do you call it? A march for him. There was like a protest, of his arrest, and they were chanting his name or something. I never saw this type of phenomenon before. I mean, this type of following. But again, I asked myself, why is this person so popular? What makes him different? And why now are they arresting him? That's what I want. You see, I'm not condoning if he did these things that is alleged that he did. He should be prosecuted for it. If he committed a crime, whatever that crime is, and punishment for that crime he should get. But because he wasn't arrested earlier, people do what they do. Women are being abused every day. Women are being trafficked right now. But their what do you call it? The people behind it are not in jail. So what makes him different and being prosecuted, and the others who are doing the same thing or even worse, why aren't they being arrested? So that's what my question was. Again, I'm not trying to say that, well, because so and so got away with something that he should too. No, I'm not trying to say that. I'm not trying to say that. The way my thinking is that when things occur, why does it happen to the way it happened to a particular thing or person? What makes it distinct? What makes something happen? What is the catalyst behind something? Because again, he is a man of color. He's a man of color. He's in Europe. They would get him, right? That's my thinking. That they would just arrest him right away. They're coming in somebody else's territory. He's a man of color, and no one is, no one was bothering him before. But all of a sudden, something's happening now. Okay, that so like with the C-19, with the pandemic that happened for the past 3 years, what made people not ask questions, not being able to ask questions, the shadow banning, all these things. What was happening? Well, these things are happening behind the scenes. That's really pressing. So I got the answer, at least part of the answer, 2 days ago, and it blew my mind. Yeah, there's reasons why things happen, and I was surprised. Um, there's a young woman. She just turned 20 years of age. Her birthday was in January. I think her birthday was January, yeah, early January of this year. Yeah, she just turned 20. But a couple of years ago, about 3, 4 years ago, so she's a minor then. She was at a forum of some type, this political forum, and she announced to the media. I mean, she has, I mean, a young girl. She looked very, very young back then. And she's addressing about what they call climate change. And she's actually shaming and reprimanding the people. Her name is Greta Thunberg, something like that. Greta Thunberg. She is a Swedish national. And her parents are performers. One is a musician, one is an actor, one is a opera singer. And she was seemed to be groomed at a young age to be concerned about what they call climate change. And what happened with what about climate change? I remember in 2007, I heard the term then was global warming. But I said to myself, when I first heard that, global warming, I said to myself, wow, I thought the world was actually getting cooler and cooler over the years, but not that it's getting warmer. And it was being pushed back then in 2007, this global warming. And then when you look at the statistics, you saw that it actually wasn't getting warmer, but the trend was it was actually getting cooler, as I thought. So when the data came out, they said, okay, it's not global warming. Let's just say, what do you call it? Climate change, something like that. Yeah, the climate changes winter, spring, summer, fall, in my opinion. Yes, it varies. And personally, I believe it, just my opinion, in my opinion, I believe that you have these, when you do seeding of the sky, you can alter the weather patterns. And this thing called HAARP, HAARP, that these are devices that are used to alter, which can alter weather patterns. So now they have this young girl, Greta Thunberg, and or Thunberg, yeah, Greta Thunberg from Sweden, and she uh, was given an audience to talk to and shaming the um, people about this climate that we got, save the planet. And I said, wow, a young girl, to have that kind of power to allow her. Again, she was just a minor. She's not a science major or anything like that. But I thought it was really, I saw it maybe a year ago, that actual clip. And then I'm seeing another clip um, just this week. And I said, wow. So why do I bring her up? Okay, well, it turns out that recently, now I don't remember, I'm not sure of the nuances of it, or who initially addressed who, but at one point, this guy, Andrew Tate, had mentioned her by name, mentioned her, and the video she did, the video that was being said was um, it was very dramatic. Um, it seemed very forced, like acting, over expressions over exaggerated. In my opinion, that was just my opinion. It seemed over the top. And she's talking about this the climate changing. And so this guy Andrew Tate says, in mocking her, or I should say, challenging her statements about climate change. See, with climate change, they want to monitor what you call the carbon print that you leave, meaning that um, they don't want you to use gasoline. They want you to go electric. They want to, use other technologies, other science to limit the pollution of the planet. Now, I'm all for um, cleaning up, the air and all that. Clean food also. But this climate change people seem like they want to control your activities. In my opinion, it's just my opinion. They want to control your activities or what you can and can't do. So they want to, like in China, they give you a social score that, and it could be done publicly, that if you don't comply to certain things, that they will publicly shame you. They have in China these billboards, and they can do like, they have this software that they know who's walking where. They could um, uh, know your, like could read your face and know who you are. Everybody is documented in that country. I'm sorry. And then if you're not in compliance with something, they will publicly shame you. So, oh, you're not doing such and such, and on the billboard. So everybody, so public shaming is a big thing in that country, in China, and it seems like they're slowly trying to do that here in America, with all these cameras, and now with the, you have to be in compliance. So this C-19 was just a start of compliance. Wear the mask like what they do in China. Be like robots, no longer have rights, in my opinion. And so they want to limit, hey, you got a car that utilizes gasoline. And, he has these powerful cars, these cars with many cylinders that require a lot of, it drinks a lot of gasoline. So he, in, challenging this Greta Thunberg, He said he tweets her and mentions a handful of cars that he personally owns. And yes, he sounds like he's bragging. Yes, yes. And what happened? Well, she tweeted back. This is important, people. This is very important. She tweeted back, and before she tweeted back, he says, give me your email and I'll give you a complete inventory on all the cars that I own. Well, she didn't like that, so she publicly tried to shame him and said to him, "Oh, you can contact me at." She gives a fictitious email address that had a pejorative of the male anatomy in the email address, as being the email address. And then he does a video regarding the tweet. And shortly after that, this is the important part. Shortly after that dialogue between the two over the tweet, that's when he was arrested. That. And so, what that means to me, at least what it looked like, to me, my interpretation of events, that you have someone who's been doing what he's doing for a while. He wasn't arrested. You have people, some of the women that did go to the authorities, but nothing happened. And then soon when he does a tweet and challenge the narrative, the climate change narrative, and he mocked it. And again, Andrew Tate has a large following. So he is what you call, and it could influence, and again, people on YouTube are now being called influencers, where they don't want him to influence people against the narrative of the climate change. And remember also, there's a meeting. I'm not sure if it's actually now or something that will be the WEF organization, World Economic Forum, the globalists, and they have a narrative. And you know what they were talking about with the WEF? What's that guy, Schwab fellow? What's his first name? I forget his name, but his last name is Schwab. And he's part of that meeting. And I'm sorry, I'm trying to get my thoughts here. Yeah, but it's they were mentioning in that World Economic Forum to legalize certain behaviors. To be able to violate, to say that a 12-year-old child, give them a choice, that you have, you can consent to have relations, sexual relations. Could you believe that? They want to promote this. That's what I was told recently. See, they want to pervert humanity, perverting us with these viruses, perverting our youth by having some predator to say that a 12-year-old has the age of consent. This is an evil thing. Evil. These same people, they wanted to tell you what to do, but in the process make you a reprobate, having you to become a reprobate mind. So When I learned that news 2 days ago with Andrew Tate, I said, boy, these organizations are more powerful. They get their mouthpiece. They get a young look, very ultra young looking girl, and then shaming people. Now, yeah, I do want to be able to breathe clean air, but also want clean food without the GMO. Why are they allowing GMO, which is genetically modifying our genes? Don't you think it's going to promote certain illnesses and early death? Yes, the air, pollution. But to electricity, there's carbon used with that. Electricity. What are these engines? What don't they require gasoline also? I don't know, people. But either way, they now want, they want you to now change your method of driving. And look, they're pushing now interesting Tesla cars, that those electric cars, or the hybrids. Why is that? I see that in some place. Well, I hear that they design cars that are programmed, the electric car, fully electronic, computerized cars that can drive by itself. I've seen that in a video. This guy was actually a young dude that was sleeping in his car. He's the driver. He was asleep, and the car was driving by itself. And he was living in a big city. I don't know what country that happened in. Yeah. Also, with these computerized cars, they can computerize where your car could and could not go. It's programmable. And you know what else, what these programmable cars can do? Well, they can program it for you to get in an accident. Hello, people. Yeah, they might issue out these cars and make it look, wow, you could, you don't have to drive it. It drives for you. See, they don't want you to think anymore. They just want you to be in compliance. And if they don't like you, they can program that car to get in an accident. They want us all to be, it seems like, in my opinion, to be like robots and actually have robots control you, to control your life. And so when Andrew Tate, and again, I'm not condoning if he actually did do what they claimed that he did. I'm not condoning that. I'm not saying that that's okay behavior, no. But that I was just challenging, okay, if he's doing this and nothing's happening, why now are you prosecuting him? Why? And because it's what it looks like again, he challenged the new bullies of the planet. These organizations, I don't know who the hell these people are, but they have all this control or trying to get control over your life, over your relationship with your physician, your own personal physician. What your medical treatment to be or not be. It is your right as a patient to choose your own medical care. But either way, they're getting these people, what it looks like, they're getting, people who look innocent. They're getting people who look innocent, young, trust these young people because they're speaking the truth. They're programmed. They're programmed, being programmed and used to speak. Whether it's true or not true, that's not the point. Point is a narrative And that's what this live stream is about narratives that they want you to believe. And if you go against it, so Tate challenged her. And yes, he's mocking. Hey, I give you a list of all my guzzler cars, guzzle, And then she retorted back in a tweet. And then soon after that, he gets arrested because now they want to shut him up. And, but he got a following. The last thing I want to talk about, um, again, it's showing the trend in all this. And I talked about this also with, I watch a lot of videos regarding relocating to new places, things like that. You have the Back to Africa movement. You have, just expat movement, and it's sharing. And I like to, I want to learn about these options for myself. And I've shared many times that I was trying to get information and to move overseas, but it fell through. But I was listening to this one YouTuber, and I didn't like he was, again, they're promoting this particular country. Uh, and in this case, this was in Ghana. Yeah, it seems like Ghana is like the number one African country that they're really promoting. And yeah, they did have the year of return in 2019, and they're still promoting, people on social media promoting it. And and again, nothing wrong in itself, nothing wrong with that. But there news that is coming out about certain countries, and that one in particular, and that the of fleecing and exploitation of Black Americans, or what do you call it, um, blacks around the world. I forget the term, like the diaspora, yes, the African diaspora, but blacks of the Americas, and also some in Europe, but to go back to Africa. And what happened, this one video that I made mention to before in a prior video, um, this one individual, again, his work in general is okay. Um, I don't agree with everything on his video, but basically, he's just promoting Africa. He tours all over Africa. He's an older fellow, um, but in this one video, he's on a beach, and he's a foreigner. He's not from there, but he's walking on the beach with a live stream going on. He had his device and is videoing, and he's trying to get people to talk to him on the video. Men did approach, men, he did talk to guys, but he wanted to also talk to the women. And I was concerned at one point. Again, in general, his work is okay. No one's perfect, but I got offended when he got angry, and he started to sound like an angry guy against women. Oh, what's wrong with these women? Why aren't they coming to, talk to me? Now I'm thinking, dude, you're a grown ass man. You're a foreigner. You're speaking, when you speak, they know right off you're a foreigner because you're speaking American English. And you're holding a camera and wanting women to be on the camera. And it just, and some of the other, since it was a live stream, you had people in the chat room, and they were saying things. Someone had mentioned, maybe these women aren't where they're supposed to be. And I felt that it was um, trying to make it sound like these women were doing something illicit, something that, to shame them. And they didn't want people to know. And I thought I was trashing them. These women don't know him from Adam. And I I wrote in the comment section, and I said, women overseas in general are modest about certain things, behavior. People are shy. That's why I said shy. Some women are shy, and then I said, look, you are a foreign man with a camera walking on the beach, and you call them, hey sister, hey sister. They don't know you, so why should they come over? I said, if you had a daughter and some man on the beach did the same thing, would you want your daughter to go talk to that man? No. And I said, I said, I feel that you are trying to shame these ladies, and I don't like that. That's all I said. Well, my um, my comment was pulled. I had also put up two other responses that were complimentary, that say, hey, now you're saying something that I really believe in, or something. I was agreeing with certain things. So I wasn't about just saying something negative. When something was good, I say, hey, this, I, I approved it, I not approved, but, I agreed with them. So, but interesting, when that comment was pulled, someone had commented, responded to me through the video. I mean, the comment that wasn't pulled, and they put a question mark, and they said, get in contact with them, with this person. They wrote what looked like a telephone number, and I did respond to it, and I did not get a response back. So I don't know whether it was like what do you call it? Those bots you have on social media when you write in the comments. You have it doesn't. I don't know whether it's an actual human being or the computer. These viruses that these computers have. Oh, I'm sorry, AI. Whether it's AI responding and just in essence harassing me, whatever. You get these weird things that come out in the comment section sometimes, that they might use these symbols, these caricatures, that these pictures that don't make sense. It seems like some type of, again, AI created this, and it's just created to harass. But I'm wondering the same thing now. Now again, I don't know who pulled down the comment, but it seemed like, how dare I uh, change the narrative or expose the narrative about go back to Africa. Now, the only thing I was in opposition to was to put some camera in front of some woman's face, and you don't know them. And I thought it was disrespecting the culture and the privacy of women in general. All the women on that beach, they were all dressed, no bathing suits. Interesting, in Africa, it seems like they don't wear like the type of bathing suits that we have here in America. They all wear clothes. And another thing, they don't lie on the ground like they do in America. And I thought that was interesting. Everybody was standing and just, looking at the waves. No one was, very few people were actually in the water. It was like a meeting place, and people were just being social. It was very positive, very, very positive. But it seems like the narrative with some of the YouTubers of my community, my Black community, it seems like they don't want certain narrative, that if you, I guess in their eyes, seem to be contrary, they will pull your comments. Now I feel now if I said something pejorative, bad language, insulting, or trying to intimidate or threaten, I could see something like that. But to share, to communicate, isn't this about communicating? And if he was really about the respect of black women or any woman or anybody's privacy, whether you're male or female, shouldn't people's privacy and cultural sensitivity be um, presented? And the fact that he's been to many, many African countries. And he would know that certain things, like, women overseas are basically very modest in their conduct in public. And why wasn't he seem to be aware of that or care? So again, I don't know whether he personally pulled it or whether was it one of his administrators. But ironically, someone put in a comment after. So why was that? So something just seems up. Something seems like a mockery. I feel like it was like with Greta Thunberg. She mocked right back at Andrew Tate because what was said, and then I feel like I'm being mocked by an honest statement. I wasn't trying to threaten or muzzle, but just, hey, from my perspective as a woman, you're asking a question, why are these women not approaching you? And I'm giving you the answer. So again, the narrative, this is what it's about. It seems like a narrative. And even in the go back to Africa movement or go anywhere movement, that it's like they want you to hate your country. Now, I love my country. I just don't love what is happening within it. I don't like the violence. I don't like the drugs. And I have a right to stand up, to say, hey, it's not a perfect place, but I don't want people slam dunking my country either. So things like that, I notice is being pulled. They don't want that coming out. Yes, I am interested in relocating, but anything can happen. People, see this back to wherever movement. When it if it really takes off, what if I'm just saying this now. See, don't bite the hand that feeds you. Do not bite the hand that feeds you. Okay, we live here in America. It's not perfect. But when you go overseas, you don't know what's going to happen to you overseas. And even if you go to a black country or predominantly black country, it doesn't mean that they will accept you. It doesn't mean that they will accept you. And like with some places, the number of what they call expats are growing. And when you have a large so-called expat, the price of housing goes up and that the local people cannot afford it. And that's what's happening. What if in some of these places that people are being encouraged to go to, and you go there and the pricing goes up and the locals don't like you? They say, hey, I can't buy this food or I can't get this apartment for my family because of you guys. And what if they start to attack you? What if they start to attack you? Where are you going to go now? Where are you going to go now? It's a lot of propaganda about America. And a lot of these places, I used to live in a place in the Caribbean, and they didn't like black Americans. They didn't like it. They leave the whites alone. but they verbally tell you what they think about you. I was surprised. And here I went to live in a place before, about 30 plus years ago. I moved to the Caribbean. And I moved there. Well, I wanted a warm place. I had to look for a job, and I cannot look for a job in a cold environment. I was like a secretary, and you have to be tested on a typewriter, and I cannot type when my hands are cold. So I purposely chose a warm area to move to so I can look for a job in my field. And I said, I want to choose a black place. Being a black person, that's what I thought I was, right? Well, it was a wake up call that just because you are black or you consider yourself black doesn't mean that they consider you family or friend or a member. And they may not want you working there or living there, or they take advantage of you. And so when that happens, where you going to go, people? You may be forced to go back to America. See, they don't talk about things like this. They don't talk about it. And they should talk about it. They should talk about it because it's a backup. If you really care about the people of your community, you'll share the good and the bad that could result so that they could protect themselves. You have to be able to protect yourself, people. You have to. What if you go to the Ghana? Things were happening in Ghana, according to this one couple with kids. And they were being fleeced. Things were not good, and they left. They left. When people are hungry, when people cannot get housing, people's welcome of you change overnight. But they want us to have a narrative. And I'm wondering if this narrative of to leave America, is this a trap? Is it a trap to force black people out so they can get other ethnic groups in? And these are going to be the new rulers, I'm wondering just things that are happening. Like I live in New York City. And the whole demographics of New York City is changing drastically. Now, again, I've always been surrounded and associate with people of foreign nationals all my life. In fact, most people in my circle were from other countries. So I'm not anti-immigration. That's just how it was my growing up. Most of the people, when I got into college and the workforce, most people that I were in my circle were all other. But now I see that it's like a vilification and a shaming of Black America, at least in New York City. The behavior of many of us are crazy because of this drugs. The way that many of the Black men in particular dressed here in New York City, it's just getting crazy. They're out of their minds here in New York City. When I say New York City, I mean Manhattan, the center of New York City. That's what I'm really referring to. And now they're having this movement to encourage us to leave. And I'm wondering, is this a trap? Is this by design to create all this media frenzy with George Floyd and all these other Black men that's being killed?
And so they want to frighten us and get us angry and say, hey, let's just leave. Maybe that's what their whole intention is. Did you know, like in Europe, what was that? In the, I think, 1800s, 17 or 1800s, with the famine, there was a what they call the potato famine in Ireland and I think other parts of Europe. It was a famine. And the people were forced to leave and come to the Americas to survive. That's what the narrative was. But it turns out that what was actually happening wasn't that it was not a famine. It was a man-made event, and that food was being hoarded by the government to starve the population and force them to leave. I'm wondering whether this is what's happening here in America to kick out Black America and put in that somebody else. That's what I think what's going on. That's what I think what's a possibility that I because when I again I wasn't trying to challenge, but when certain information is shared and then I question a certain narrative about it or to consider other things, and if this is an open dialogue, then why are they closing the dialogue? They don't want that dialogue to go out. And just like everything else, just like with the pandemic, the past 3 years from uh, 2020 to 2023, I mean 2022, what was going on? So when you question certain things as questions, you are um, censored. Or like with the Andrew Tate, everything was going on. You know, he was doing what he was doing, whether good or bad, and nothing is stopping him until he questioned the narrative uh, through challenging Greta Thunberg. And then, boom, shortly after that, then they did the arrest. And then with my video, and I just told her, hey, about what he was saying with the ladies, or another video, a narrative, and they put me on timeout. Yeah, I questioned a narrative about um, he was promoting something with the World War II thing, and I forget what I had mentioned. Oh yeah, about the flag. They were saying that it was some footage about World War II. This old footage, and they were saying some narrative about that they were using a white, what do you call it? I think it was in the U.S. in the Capitol, and it was a parade or something, and yet people cheering on, and someone with it could have been a white flag, but it was like those triangles, like what like college students have, and they were saying that as a white flag of retreat, of surrender. I said, so I questioned that narrative. I said, that's not the type of flag that they would use for a surrender thing. I said, look, I was in the military. They wouldn't use a flag like that. And they put me on a timeout. Yeah, they can block you from, yeah, immediately after when I put up the comment. And I couldn't put up anything else. I mean, it was an interesting discussion, and it was a black discussion. So it was the first time that I saw a, a, a black YouTuber discuss certain aspects about World War II. So I was all saying, wow, this is interesting. And then I was timed out because when I attempted to put something else, it was screened. That they held it. They said, I forget the term, but I couldn't put up anything until much later. I said, wow, we're being censored. See, they want, what I'm seeing, that some of the people out there, and I thought us, us black community were people that want to share information. But I'm seeing a lot of us are now being used to change a narrative, to make you feel a certain way, to make you feel like a victim, to make you feel angry at particular people. But it's not about information, it's about a program. It's about us being in compliance. And all these elements that I talked about in this live stream, it's really about compliance and control. So I'm just saying, hey people, wake up. Wake up, because you don't want to be programmed. So I hope you like this live stream. Yeah, the sun is up now. It's cloudy though. Yeah. I just felt the needed to share this information. I really hope the audio is working. Yeah. So I thank you again. And yes, share your um, share this video with friends, family members, and people learn to be thinkers. Challenge the. I mean, if you have a concern about a narrative, ask them. Challenge them with it. Just don't swallow everything. And if you don't agree with what I'm saying, it's okay to say, hey, Spirit Journey, what about this or that? Each one teach one. I don't know everything. No one does. But one thing is that I want us to be safe and be able to think on our own. So thank you again for watching this live stream. Have a fantastic, fantastic weekend, okay? Peace and love to you all. Bye bye.